start with a song called I Love You Forever. Oh Lord, I love you forever, for you have always been my friend. Yes, I will love you forever and follow you into the end. Oh Lord, I love you forever, for you have always been my friend. Yes, I will love you forever and follow you until the end. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. You laid your life down on the altar. You endured hostility. You drank the cup of the Father while I was still your enemy. When I was far away, you found me. When I was broken in my sin, you put your spirit upon me and put a new heart within. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Oh, may my life burn as an offering that is pleasing unto thee. I'll count it joy to share your suffering, that your life may flow from me. Yes, I will be forever grateful, for you are always by my side. I will proclaim that you are faithful, and you're returning for a bride. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit, pour out your spirit on me. Oh Lord, I love you forever, for you have always been my friend. Yes, I will love you forever and follow you until the end. Abba Father, we have gathered in this house to honor you, to worship you, to glorify you. We've gathered here because you are our friend. You have loved us. The Apostle John wrote, we love him because he first loved us. And you did love us, and you chose us, and you have brought us into this place. And I ask that you will be glorified, that you will be honored, that as we meet here today, Lord, that as few in number as we are, that the heavens will be rejoicing with us because we are rejoicing in you, our King. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen and amen. Let's see.
You know a song about let's go up to the mountain?
I don't have that one.
Okay.
Let's do Hallelujah Adonai. If I can find it. Are you up to that, Janie?
Is that a happy one?
Or should I just do Hodule Adonai?
Do Hodu, that's easier.
Okay.
Hodu doesn't get rowdy. If I get held,
Hodu.
I'll hurt myself.
Hodule Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam hastov. Hodule Adonai ki tov, ki le'olam hastov. Hodu, 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 hodule Adonai ki tov. Give thanks to the Lord for He is good. His love will forever endure. Give thanks to the Lord for He is good. His love will forever endure. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. His love will forever endure. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. His love will forever endure. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. His love will forever endure. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. His love will forever endure. His love will forever endure.
You got this part.
Oh, where was it? And what is the name of it? Sometimes I hear a song, but I only hear like half of it. Let's go ahead and do Shomer Israel. I understand that Moshe's congregation is working with getting Patrick and Christine here.
Who are they?
Lombrosos.
The Lombrosos. He wrote this song. They live in the, they live near my sister actually in Estacada.
Oh.
But we met them at a conference several years ago at a Love for Israel conference. And they've just released their third album, which I need to get. I don't have yet. But Moshe's been talking to him about bringing them down here. And I think it'll be a great thing. And in my memories on Facebook, it says that they're here in 2 days from this date. So, but that was been, 6 years ago, I think, that they were here last. So hopefully we will all get to be a part of that, and I will get a hold of Moshe today and find out when he's got them coming so that we know. So we can all plan on being a part of that.
Nice. Soon?
Yeah.
You don't know when.
I have no idea when. I just know he posted he was gonna do it. Shomer Israel, keeper of the flock, keeper of the flock of Israel. Shomer Israel, keeper of the flock, keeper of the flock of Israel. Goel Israel, Redeemer of us all, Redeemer, Prince of Peace, Sar Shalom. Goel Israel, Redeemer of us all, Redeemer, Prince of Peace, Sar Shalom. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai El Shaddai. Zun Israel, Adon Yeshuati. Let us praise your holy name. Zun Israel, Adon Yeshuati. Let us praise your holy name. Melech Israel, King above all kings, let your kingdom reign. Adonai. Melech Israel, King above all kings, let your kingdom reign. Adonai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai El Shaddai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohai. Keeper of the flock, keeper of the flock of Israel. Goel Israel. Goel Israel, Redeemer of us all, Redeemer, Prince of Peace, Sar Shalom. Goel Israel, Redeemer of us all, Redeemer, Prince of Peace, Sar Shalom. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Elohai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai El Shaddai. We never do it the same way twice, huh, Janie? That is the disadvantage of live music when you're a dancer. And yet there's an advantage to it because
Yes, there is.
there's a flow that we can do that is different. And
I'm not complaining.
huh?
I'm not complaining.
I know. I appreciate that. Joey, would you come and lead us in the Shema?
Absolutely.
And Craig, would you blow the shofar as we begin? And let's see, where did my notes go? Oh, well. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoach kol shofar. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies us with your commandments and has instructed us to hear the voice of the shofar. Just close the words.
Oh, did I?
It's okay. You can get this part out. I had left my thing over here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'torato v'natan lanu et hor ha'chaim beYeshua Mishachenu sar ha'shalom. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with your Torah and has given us the light of life in Jesus our Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Father, thank you for today. Thank you that we are here. Thank you that you are a good God and that you care about us. Father, I ask for Bob and Chris as they are with the motorcycle group today that you would bless them as that group seeks to glorify Yeshua, Messiah, as they seek to bring people into the kingdom, as they seek to be a messenger that reminds people that we need to hear the message and not judge on outward appearances, but recognize that you, O God, have chosen the lesser things of the world to confound the wise. You are the one who chooses us. And you have chosen us to be messengers of your love and of your grace. And Father, I thank you that you honor us. Father, I ask for Regina today as her husband let us know that she's been in the hospital for a few days and maybe they're a little longer, and I don't know what's going on because he didn't specify, but Lord, for Bill and for Regina up in Washington, I ask that you would bless them, that you would bring healing to her body, that you would bring healing to him with what he deals with, and Lord, that you would open doors for them and strengthen them in your word and in understanding you and in loving you. Father, I thank you for Deborah, and even though she's not been able to be among us in a long time yet, Lord, she still remembers us. She still calls us her home fellowship, and I thank you for her. I ask that you would bless her, bring healing to her, and allow us to find a way to help her to come back. For Lord, there are others who have been a part of this congregation who have taken time off for various reasons, some for health and some for work, and some have been moved away, and yet, Lord God, they still remain in our hearts and in our love, and I thank you for them. And today, Father, I want to ask for the Thomas family in Phoenix, my friends. Lord, I ask that you would bring comfort to that family, that you would bring strength to them, that you will be glorified in what is said and done in that church today. Father, that you would give them grace and peace. In the name of Jesus, our Messiah. Glorious,
surprise because it's 4th of July coming up soon. I have 3 active duty sons. Let's commemorate them: Zion, Emmanuel, and Israel, and a veteran son, David.
Yes.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims' pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Our fathers' God, to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom so late. Protect us by thy might, great gathering.
Absolutely.
I now baptize you.
Well, you've seen the silly post about the drive-by baptisms, right?
No.
As the guy drives past people and hits the pedals and it goes up on over.
And they celebrate that as a baptism?
No, it's a joke.
Oh.
It's a joke.
Oh.
Drive-by baptisms, not. I grew up Baptist, which means that we really believe that if it's not your choice to be baptized, you're not baptized.
If you what now?
If it's not your choice
Oh.
to be baptized, it's not a real baptism.
Like an infant.
Yeah, and yeah, so there's no such thing as drive-by baptisms. Let's do Days of Elijah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, what am I gonna do with it there? These are the days of Elijah, declaring the word of the Lord. And these are the days of your servant Moses, righteousness being restored. Though these are days of great trial, of famine and darkness and sword, still we are the voice in the desert, crying, prepare the way of the Lord. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, and the trumpet call. Lift your voices, the year of Jubilee, out of Zion's hill salvation. Okay, he's not up to it, so Janie's gonna go get hers.
We have to
I think I'm probably the only one that does this song that makes room in my arrangement for the sounding of the trumpet. Yeah, because you know what? If we're going to talk about the trumpet call, then we need to make room for it. So I always give it at least a measure. And depends on what I'm hearing, I might give it more. Behold, he comes, riding on the clouds, shining like the sun, and the trumpet call. Voice is the year of Jubilee, out of Zion's hill salvation comes. These are the days of Ezekiel, the dry bones becoming as flesh. These are the days of your servant David, rebuilding a temple of praise. These are the days of the harvest, the fields are white in your word. We are the laborers in your vineyard, declaring the word of the Lord. Behold, he comes, do Eye of the Storm. In the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm, is it in the eye or eye?
In the
In
eye.
the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm, when the solid ground is falling out from underneath my feet, between the black skies and my red eyes, I can barely see. When I realize I've been left out by my friends, my family, I can feel the rain reminding me. In the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm, when my hopes and dreams are far from me and I'm running out of faith, I see the future I picture slowly fade away. When the tears of pain and heartache are pouring down my face, I can find my peace in Yeshua's name. In the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm, in the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm, your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm, your love surrounds me. In the eye of the storm. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like we've been in a storm, and I feel like it's lasted a pretty long time. About at least 2 years, if not more. And looking back on memories and things, and one of the things I enjoy about Facebook, I know there's a lot of stuff there that you got to be real careful of. Yeah, but one of the things I'm enjoying is that there's this memory feature where I can look at what I posted last year, the year before, the year before, the year before. And I can see that every year about this time, there's something happening that is storm. Every single year. Even things that look like it's going to be really good end up being a storm and a battle. Including our trip 2 years ago to visit our daughter, and getting there, and it was a hard trip to get there, and getting there was good, and we love our grandkids, and we're hugging on them and loving on them, and then Daniel got so sick, and we ended up doing warfare over him, spiritual warfare in the middle of the night as he was in the hospital with what had been before that undiagnosed juvenile diabetes, type 1 diabetes. It was a very close call in terms of the level of blood sugar, the level of the numbers in his system. It's kind of an interesting thing where I see that, and this is the season where we are beginning the month of Tammuz, And the month of Tammuz is one of those seasons where there's a lot of battle. There's a lot of warfare. There's a lot of hardship. And a lot of it is because people have walked in a lack of faith and a lack of obedience to what God says. The beginning of that is actually in our Torah portion for today. And we're going to read out of the Torah portion today about the story that kind of becomes a setup for that. Even though things happen in cyclical manners and happened even before that, but it becomes a setup for judgment. And the judgment is because of unbelief and disobedience. We're going to begin in Numbers. It's called Shelach, and it means to send, kind of like the same word shaliach means sent one. An apostle is a shaliach, and we are shaliachs. And this reading begins with shelach, which means send them out. And that's how the reading begins in Numbers chapter 13. We're going to read the whole chapter, verse 1 through 33, and Craig is going to read that portion.
Can you let me know when it's time for me to share a little vision that will take a minute and a half most? Thank you.
Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Send out for yourself men, so that they may spy out the land of Canaan, which I am going to give to the sons of Israel. You shall send a man from each of their fathers' tribes, every one a leader among them. So Moses sent them from the wilderness of Paran at the command of the Lord, all of them men who were heads of the sons of Israel. These then were their names: from the tribe of Reuben, Shammua the son of Zakur; from the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat the son of Hori; from the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephunneh; from the tribe of Issachar, Ilgal the son of Joseph; from the tribe of Ephraim, Hoshea the son of Nun; from the tribe of Benjamin, Palti the son of Raphuel; from the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel the son of Sodi; from the tribe of Joseph, from the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi the son of Susi; from the tribe of Dan, Amiel the son of Gemali; from the tribe of Asher, Sethur the son of Michael; from the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi the son of Vophsi; from the tribe of Gad, Guel the son of Machi. These are the names of the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land. But Moses called Hoshea the son of Nun, Joshua. When Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, he said to them, Go up there into the Negev, then go up into the hill country. See what the land is like, and whether the people who live in it are strong or weak, whether they are few or many. How is the land in which they live? Is it good or bad? And how are the cities in which they live? Are they like open camps or with fortifications? How is the land? Is it fat or lean? Are there trees in it or not? Make an effort then to get some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob at Lebo Hamath. When they had gone up into the Negev, they came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the descendants of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. Then they came to the valley of Eshcol, and from there cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two men, with some of the pomegranates and the figs. That place was called the Valley of Eshcol, because of the cluster which the sons of Israel cut down from there. When they returned from spying out the land at the end of 40 days, They proceeded to come to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the sons of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. And they brought back word to them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. Thus they told him and said, We went into the land where you sent us, and it certainly does flow with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. Nevertheless, the people who live in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large, and moreover we saw the descendants of Anak there. Amalek is living in the land of the Negev, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites are living in the hill country, and the Canaanites are living by the sea and by the side of the Jordan. Then Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, We should by all means go up and take possession of it, for we will surely overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, We are not able to go up against the people, for they are too strong for us. So they gave out to the sons of Israel a bad report of the land which they had spied out, saying, The land through which we have gone, in spying it out, is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. There also we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak are part of the Nephilim, and we became like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight.
Janie, would you come and read us the next part of the story? Numbers 14, 1 through 38.
Then all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. All the sons of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become plunder. Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said to one another, Let us appoint a leader and return to Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces in the presence of all the assembly of the congregation of the sons of Israel. Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, of those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes. And they spoke to all the congregation of the sons of Israel, saying, The land which we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord is pleased with us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they will be our prey. Their protection has been removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. But all the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the glory of the Lord appeared in the tent of meeting to all the sons of Israel. The Lord said to Moses, How long will this people spurn me? And how long will they not believe in me, despite all the signs which I have performed in their midst? I will smite them with pestilence and dispossess them, and I will make you into a nation greater and mightier than they. But Moses said to the Lord, Then the Egyptians will hear of it, for by your strength you brought up this people from their midst, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. They have heard that you, O Lord, are in the midst of this people. For you, O Lord, are seen eye to eye, while your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day, and in a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you slay this people as one man, then the nations who have heard of your fame will say, Because the Lord could not bring this people into the land which he promised them by oath, therefore he slaughtered them in the wilderness. But now, I pray, let the power of the Lord be great, just as you have declared. The Lord is slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, forgiving iniquity and transgression, for he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquities of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations. Pardon, I pray, the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your loving kindness, just as you also have forgiven this people from Egypt even until now. So the Lord said, I have pardoned them according to your word, but indeed, as I live, all the earth will be filled with the glory of the Lord. Surely all the men who have seen my glory and my signs which I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, yet have put me to the test these 10 times, and have not listened to my voice, shall by no means see their land which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who spurn me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has had a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land which he entered, and his descendants shall take possession of it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites live in the valleys. Turn tomorrow and set out to the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation who are grumbling against me? I have heard the complaints of the sons of Israel, which they are making against me. Say to them, As I live, says the Lord, just as you have spoken in my hearing, so I will surely do to you. Your corpses will fall in this wilderness, even all your numbered men, according to your complete number, from 20 years old and upward, who have grumbled against me. Surely you shall not come into the land in which I swore to settle you, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Your children, however, whom you said would become a prey, I will bring them in, and they will know the land which you have rejected. But as for you, your corpses will fall in this wilderness. Your sons shall be shepherds for 40 years in the wilderness, and they shall suffer for your unfaithfulness, until your corpses lie in the wilderness. According to the number of days which you spied out the land, 40 days, for every day you shall bear your guilt a year, even 40 years, and you will know my opposition. I, the Lord, have spoken. Surely this I will do to all this evil congregation who are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be destroyed, and there they will die. As for the men whom Moses sent to spy out the land, and who returned and made all the congregation grumble against him by bringing out a bad report concerning the land, even those men who brought out the very bad report of the land died by a plague before the Lord. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh remained alive out of those men who went to spy out the land.
Yes. Craig's going to come and finish our Torah portion, Numbers 15. I'm going to skip a part of the story. Go to Numbers 15, verse 27 through 41.
Also, if one person sins unintentionally, then he shall offer a 1-year-old female goat for a sin offering. The priest shall make atonement before the Lord for the person who goes astray when he sins unintentionally, making atonement for him that he may be forgiven. You shall have one law for him who does anything unintentionally, for him who is native among the sons of Israel, and for the alien who sojourns among them. But the person who does anything defiantly, whether he is native or an alien, that one is blaspheming the Lord, and that person shall be cut off from among his people. Because he has despised the word of the Lord and has broken his commandment, that person shall be completely cut off. His guilt will be on him. Now, while the sons of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation, and they put him in custody, because it had not been declared what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, The man surely shall be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. So all the congregation brought him outside the camp and stoned him to death with stones, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. The Lord also spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel and tell them that they shall make for themselves tassels on the corners of their garments throughout their generations, and that they shall put on the tassel of each corner a cord of blue. It shall be a tassel for you to look at, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, so as to do them and not follow after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you played the harlot, so that you may remember to do all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God.
Our HAFTARAH portion is in Joshua 2, verses 1 through 24, and Joy is going to come and read that for us.
Then Joshua the son of Nun sent 2 men as spies secretly from Shittim, saying, Go view the land, especially Jericho. So they went and came into the house of a harlot, whose name was Rahab, and lodged there. It was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, men from the sons of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land. And the king of Jericho sent word to Rahab, saying, Bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all the land. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. And she said, Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they were from. It came about, when it was time to shut the gate at dark, that the men went out. I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, for you will overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof, and hidden them in the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order on the roof. So the men pursued them on the road to Jordan, to the fords. And as soon as those who were pursuing them had gone out, they shut the gate. Now before they lay down, she came up to them on the roof, and said to the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that the terror of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land have melted away before you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. When we heard it, our hearts melted, and no courage remained in any man any longer because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and on earth beneath. Now therefore, please swear to me by the Lord, since I have dealt kindly with you, that you also will deal kindly with my father's household, and give me a pledge of truth. And spare my father and my mother, and my brothers and my sisters, with all who belong to them, and deliver our lives from death. So the men said to her, Our life is yours, for if you do not tell this business of ours, and it shall come about, when the Lord gives us the land, that we will deal kindly and faithfully with you. Is this a good time? Is this a good time to share my vision?
It's in there.
I think it does. You can always edit it out. Okay, so I felt like the Lord gave me kind of a revelation, but it was something I already knew, but then I felt like I had never known it. So I saw Michael, the archangel, powerful with, strong calves and strong arms and wings, and he was like the captain or something of the armies of heaven. The armies of heaven are huge. There are more angels than people by at least double, and probably way more than that, because each person gets a couple. But anyway, so Michael was the head of the armies of the Lord. I knew it wasn't appropriate to pray to an angel or to worship an angel. And I was wondering, I wonder how you can invoke the power of that army. And then I saw him, the King of Angels, thou King of saints, thou King of angels, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. He is the King of angels. And when we pray in his name, we invoke all that power.
Absolutely. In his name. Matthew 10, 1 through 14. Claire, would you come and read that? Let's read what we can do in his name. Matthew 10, 1 through 14.
Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every kind of sickness and every kind of disease. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out after instructing them, "Do not go in the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter any city of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. Freely you received, freely give. Do not acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts, or a bag for your journey, or even 2 coats or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worthy of his support. And whatever city or village you enter, inquire who is worthy in it, and stay at his house until you leave that city. As you enter the house, give it your greeting. If the house is worthy, give it your blessing of peace. But if it is not worthy, take back your blessing of peace. Whoever does not receive you, nor go out of that house or that city, shake the dust off your feet."
Anyway, it's called Psalm 54. Stretch out your stakes, stand in faith, let God arise. And what you shared is actually right along lines with some of what I've been seeing. And you know, last week I came in with the house plans, with the design of the house that we're looking at to put up on the property in our personal home. And Craig and I are in this place where we've had to step back and say, okay, God, what are you doing? We've been there many, many times now. I think we're finally getting there where it's like, okay, God, what are you doing? Instead of, God, what are you doing? Did you bring us out here to kill us? Are you trying to destroy us? I think we're finally getting to the point of when that shed, some of you know the story, the neighbor's shed lifted up and came over the roof, and when that shed came over the roof and landed in the ground in front of me and went across the street, and I stood outside and I saw that, and I looked back at our house, and I looked at that shed and I said, God, are you trying to tell us it's time to take down the house? Is this what you're saying? Is this, it's time. You know, and we've been wanting to do something with our old house that we're living in, and we've not been able to. Every time we turn around, we have money started saving up for a down payment, for the deposits, all the stuff we're gonna need. Something happens. And you know, I'm beginning to feel like, God, why do you keep, what's going on here? When this happened, we found we had a gash in the roof and contacted our insurance company, and they've contacted us, and they've had people come and look at the roof and a temporary patch put in, just, you know, to get us through, and we sent a message to them last week, right, that said basically, okay, we've decided we're done with this house. Not in that exact words, but we've decided that it is time to retire this house, to put the other house on the property, to put the manufactured home up that we've been wanting, we've been looking at, and tear down this house that has not withstood the course of time all that well, and just is in a lot of bad shape. And we've decided it's time to shift. So is there any way that we could ask, instead of for you to repair our house, pay a company to come in and do the repairs, if we could negotiate some kind of a cash settlement? Craig got a call yesterday. I hear Craig say, well, did you get my email? Oh, you didn't? Okay. So the guy didn't get the email. He was calling us because they wanted to offer us a cash settlement because the company that does the reconstruction and the repairs don't want to touch the roof. They don't want to fix it. I don't blame them. So what we were asking for is what's being offered. And God is opening the door. He's making the way, isn't he? Where we kept going, okay, God, I don't know how you're going to do this. We don't know what you're going to do. We don't know how it's going to work. We're going to stand in faith. We're going to know that you're doing something. We know it's time. And God is beginning to open those doors for us. And it's interesting to me how our Torah portions line up with our lives sometimes. You know, we have the men who went and spied out the land. And of the 12, one from each tribe, they all came back with the same report. In essence, it's a great land. It's flowing with milk and honey. The produce is huge. The grapes are huge. I saw a picture this last week of a woman in Israel standing next to the grapes. Literally, that cluster of grapes out of a kibbutz in southern Israel started up here and went down to about here. Cluster of grapes. And you know, I know, we grew grapes. We had grapevines in our backyard, and they grew these little, you know. But the types of grapes that they grow in Israel are different type, and the clusters cluster together even. They don't spread out on the vine. They kind of cluster, and got these huge clusters, and this cluster of grapes was bigger than she was tall. And I'm like, wow, this report of the spies is real. It took 2 of them to carry a cluster of grapes on their shoulder. It's real. They all said the same thing. It's a great land. It's flowing with milk and honey. The grapes are big, and so are the people. Right? So are the people. Oh my God, the people are big, God. The people are big. They're really big. The sons of Tanach. Now, Tanach is a giant. He was a giant, 9 foot tall. Goliath is a descendant of his. Okay? They were giants. Even today, someone who is 9 foot tall is a giant. And we have been, mankind has been kind of getting taller and taller over a few years. In medieval times, people stood about 4.5 feet. A tall man was 5 foot even. Now I'm 5 foot even, and I'm considered pretty short, but 9 feet tall. So they saw the giants, and the freeze came out. We saw the Nephilim. Now the Nephilim, there's a theory behind the Nephilim and a different take on them, that they're not just humans. That the Nephilim are technically half angel. Fallen angel, but half angel. I don't know. I can argue both sides of that argument. I can look at it from different ways. But there's this place where we know that the Nephilim were considered cruel and demonic in aspect. So they're saying not only are they giants, but they're demonic giants. We can't go against them. We look like grasshoppers in our eyes and their eyes. Now, not long ago, I heard a really cool teaching, and it was called, "Are you a grasshopper or a giant killer?" And I thought it was one of the best teachings I'd heard in a long time, where it's kind of how we see ourselves, but it's how we see ourselves in God that makes the difference. It's not whether or not I am capable of doing what needs to be done next. It's whether or not I believe when God has said do it, He will make me capable of it. Do I believe God will make me capable? 10 of these men said, "We are grasshoppers. They'll squish us." And then there's the other 2, Joshua and Caleb. And in the message I heard, he compared it with David, who stood up against Goliath and said, "Who's this uncircumcised Philistine? Who is this pagan idiot?" Kind of what he was saying. Who's this pagan? Who's this dog standing up against God? That's what David was saying. Goliath was like, "Who's this little brat? He doesn't even shave yet. He's a kid, I'll squish him." But God anointed David to do something everyone else was afraid to even try. In the same way, the 2 men, Joshua and Caleb, stood up and they said, "This is a land flowing with milk and honey. It is a good land. If God is with us, He will bring us into this land. Don't rebel against the Lord. Don't be afraid of the giants in the land. Don't be afraid of what the enemy is throwing against you. Don't be afraid." You know, courage is not the absence of the feeling of fear. Courage is doing what you have to do, even when you feel the fear. God's not telling them don't feel afraid. He's telling them don't act afraid. We go up against giants, it feels awful. It's frightening. When we look at the impossibilities of certain things, and yet God has said, God has shown me this house totally full of people, overflowing with people being healed, saved, and delivered.
Amen.
He has shown me that. I've seen that vision, and yet here we are, 4 of us today. It's easy to get discouraged. I will tell you that the last few weeks I have felt discouraged. Part of that's because I've felt tired, because I've done things that have physically exhausted me, and when we let our bodies get exhausted, sometimes that comes and moves into our spirit too. And I have felt that discouragement. But it doesn't mean we act on it. We canceled last night's gathering because nobody could be here. You know, it would have been Janie and Craig and I, and Janie's been really tired, and Craig and I have been really tired, and I thought, you know what? Just not going to do it this time. And that's okay. Sometimes we can do that. The month of Tammuz is not exactly a fun month to teach about, because it is the month in which the spies came back, and the spies said, we can't do it, and the people said, oh, we can't do it. And God said, you will be judged for your unfaithfulness to me. That was in the month of Tammuz. In the month of Tammuz, God said, you will be judged, and you will wander in the wilderness for 40 years. And every one of you that is of fighting age right now,
Wow.
who said, no, we can't do it, will die. The death sentence was given. And God did not revoke that death sentence.
Whoa.
In his graciousness, in his forgiveness, he allowed their children to go in. But he did not revoke the death sentence on them. You know, sometimes I wonder and I think, okay, Lord, thank you for not revoking, thank you for not giving us a death sentence. Thank you that you continue to encourage, that every time I come to you and say, is it time to quit? You say, no. And there have been times I've said, is it time to quit yet? But God says we can do it. God says he is going to do it. God showed us he's going to put a house on our property. I had no idea how. We didn't have any money, nothing saved up. We're doing all these things in the natural, trying to figure it out. And God says, let me give you a settlement. Let me arrange for this shed to land on your roof. Let me get you some cash. It's time. Okay. So now I'm collecting boxes that are good, sturdy boxes to pack things in, because we have to move out of the house. And anyway, so yeah.
Come
There's-
to my house.
Huh?
Come to my house. I have boxes.
You have boxes? Okay, good. And I know that people have boxes, and I know there's lots available, and I'm looking around going, okay, what do I need to pack first? What do we use all the time? What can I pack away that we don't use on a regular basis? And, you know, I'm thinking in terms of that, and we do all the natural stuff, and we've got to do the natural stuff. At the same time, what we know is that God's the one that's orchestrating it. God's the one that's going to do it. It's not that we can kill the giants in our own strength. When they took the land later on in the book of Joshua, after he has sent the 2 spies and he has taken Jericho down and he saves Rahab, and after all that, when they get into the land and Joshua starts dividing the land up, Caleb came to him and said, I want that section over there. You know, the mountainous region over there that nobody else seems to want to deal with. The place where the sons of Anak are, I'm going after them. Give them to me. anymore. I don't remember how old he is.
80.
Huh?
80.
He's at least 80, yeah. He goes against the giants, the sons of Tanach. And he and his sons take it. Wow. That was a weird sound. Kids across the street with a wagon, or I don't know. It's been a weird season. But the point that I'm trying to get to is that we can do whatever God sends us out to do, and we don't have to look at what our abilities are, and we don't have to look at what our assets are. We have to look at the assets that God gives us in our way. When he sent the 12 out, and people will take parts of scripture out of their context and use it to do a whole lot of stuff and doctrines and things. And when Jesus sent the 12 out in to Israel, and he sent them out and he said, don't take money with you, don't take extra clothes with you, don't do this, don't do that. Go and heal and teach and proclaim the kingdom and let them support you as you go. Because that's what he's saying. Some people think that means that we shouldn't ever, when he told them no swords, no weapons, no protection. Some people think that means we should never have protection. We should never make sure we have enough money for the trip. We should always make sure that we trust God to do it. Well, God is speaking to the disciples at that particular time in that way, and he's saying do it then. Later, at the Last Supper, Jesus asked them, does anybody have a sword? And Peter pulled out a knife. So yeah, they did. So there's other times where it's not said in that way, but at the same time, when God sends us out and he tells us how to do it, we got to do it his way. Jesus told them, when you come to a town or village, look for someone trustworthy, stay with them. When you enter a household, say, and this says Shalom Aleichem, means peace be with you. If the home deserves you, let your shalom, let your peace rest on it. If not, let your peace return to you. And he was sending them out like sheep among wolves, it says. They were to heal the sick. They were to raise the dead. They were to declare the kingdom of God. Cleanse those afflicted with leprosy. Expel the demons. You've received without paying, so you give without payment. And that's what he's telling. Do you think we can actually do all those things? Well, the Bible says that Jesus told them that greater things than you saw me do, you will do, if you will walk in faith. Do we walk in faith? Or do we walk in fear? Is what we're facing a giant that's impossible, or is it a giant that is a challenge and God is going to take care of it? I believe that what we face, God will provide what we need to face it. God, if we will follow and listen to his direction and do it his way, he will take down the walls of Jericho. If we want to do it our way, it might not make the same thing. If we walk out of his timing, we don't receive the same blessing. When we walk in his timing, in faith, in obedience, as we're supposed to. The very last of our Torah portion is the instruction about the tzitzit, the tassels on the corners of the garments. You know, I saw something the other day that said one of the things about Passover that's so wonderful is that we encourage our kids to ask questions. Why is this not different? Why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing it that way? Part of the tassels, by the way, I believe, is so our kids will go, why do you wear that? answer can come so that I remember the commandments of God. Because that's what it says. Tie this in the corners of your garment to look at and thereby remember all of God's commandments and obey them. It will help you remember. God is a God who gives us very practical reminders. Hands-on. Something to not forget. That God is God. He's called us to obedience. He's called us to faith. When we will walk in that faith, we will do what he has said, we can do whatever he's called us to do. We can put a new house on a property where people say you can't do it. We can fill the room where people are going, I don't think that's ever going to happen for them. Because God has said he'll do it. He will do it. We just need to be obedient and continue to walk in faith. And on those moments and those times where we feel discouraged, because we do, right? We get there. We need to take that before God and say, God, I feel discouraged. I feel like I can't do it. I feel like it's over. But you have said it's not. You have said, you have said, you have said. When Moses intercedes for the people, what does he tell him? He tells God, look, you delivered them from Egypt to bring them into this land. If you wipe them out right now, everybody's going to say, oh, God couldn't do it. God, for your name's sake,
Amen.
because you said it,
Amen.
I'm holding you to it. You didn't bring all of these people out here to wipe them out and start over with me and Aaron.
Mhm.
You didn't. You brought all of these people out to bring these people into the land, and if you're not going to bring them in, bring in their children. When the Egyptians hear about it, because they saw your strength, they saw you bring them up, they will tell the people living in this land, oh, they heard that Adonai is with the people, and you, Adonai, are seen face to face. Your cloud stands over them. You go before them. Everybody knows God is with them. If God fails to bring them into the land, then God has failed to keep his word. God cannot, he will not fail to keep his word. He cannot and he will not. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves, God will not fail his word. He gave a promise, he will fulfill it. It doesn't always look the way we want it to, but if he gave the promise, he will fulfill it. It isn't always worked out in quite the same way we think it should be, but if he made the promise, he will fulfill it. I never thought there would be a shed land on our roof. How bizarre is that?
Wasn't even a proper tornado.
It wasn't even windy that day. And everything that was in that shed was still piled in nice little piles. Right where the shed had been, over the top of it. I never saw that coming. But God chooses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise.
Amen.
And he says, I'm going to provide for you. Maybe not the way you thought. Maybe not the path you thought. But I will provide for you. And I believe he will. And I believe it's soon. And I believe that we will walk in his blessing. Because he said we would. He said we would. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that. Sometimes I have to remind Craig of that, right? Sometimes you might have to remind me of that. But the truth is, if God called us to it, He will see us through it. Very simple. If He said it, He'll do it. He said, we obey. When the disciples went out, as Jesus said, they came back to Him later and they said, wow! Even the demons responded to our commands. Wow! And Jesus said, that's nothing. That's nothing. Don't even rejoice over that. Rejoice that your names are written in the Lamb's book of life. Rejoice that your names are in the book of life. What you do from here to there, that's all God's glory. That's all His glory. So we look for His glory. And I thank Him. And we thank Him. And Father, I just declare before you right now that we trust you in this process. That we believe what you have said will come about. Father, that you have shown me so many things. And I forget. But you don't. Thank you for the reminder.
What do you do with your English?
Thank you for the reminder. Thank you that you are the God who sees before and sees after. And that you are our God. And you are leading us where we need to be. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, our Lord and our Savior. Amen and amen. Can you come and lead us in the Aaronic blessing?
So I asked the Lord to reveal something to me, and maybe He revealed a little bit of it. So it was disturbing me that it said that Yeshua would rule with a rod of iron during the millennium, because it's a time of peace, and the lion's laying by the lamb and all that. So I said, what does that mean? And what I felt like I saw was that it was similar to Ezekiel when the angel was using a measuring stick to build things. That the rod is it's like a plumb line and a measuring thing that everything has to measure up to that. And that it would be a building tool, which was interesting that you were saying that, what you were saying. And then it came to me that just as Rahab, wow, prophetess, was saying that everyone was afraid of the Israelites because God had cleared the sea for them, because they were able to conquer unconquerable foes, that just before the millennial reign, the world will see the same thing. They will see Yeshua, the King of Kings, and his armies are going to conquer an unconquerable foe. And so there is that fear of him. But he won't have to wield his iron rod against anyone. He won't have to crack it on the back. He won't have to, put people down with it. It's a measuring rod that says, you will behave this way. You will go this far and you'll go farther. It'd be nice if people behaved like that in our apartment complexes. Mm-hmm. Like, here are the rules. No yelling after 10, but people will try to push the limits as far as they will, but they won't during that time when Yeshua is reigning on the earth like that. Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha, v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, v'yasom. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. The Lord bless you.
Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord bless you.
Bless you.
And keep Shabbat,